All right, welcome to My The Asshole Podcast. Let's get into it. All right, this is our first episode of Season 2 of My The Asshole Podcast. Yesterday was our 1 year of actually doing this show, August 14th. My goodness, it is crazy to think that a year has already gone by, so much content that we have done, and hopefully you guys are enjoying all the content from episode 1 all the way to 200 something. I don't know what it is now, but my goodness, it's 2 something and it's crazy. All the Patreon episodes we've done, all of the scenarios we've gone through, all of the threads that we've done, all the different iterations that this show has gone through. And I'm glad that you guys were here for it all, man. It's wonderful. I'm so happy that you guys have supported the show as long as you have. You have downloaded, commented, subscribed, follow us on TikTok and Instagram and all that good stuff, man. Sending in your scenarios, being part of the show, all of that stuff. It's amazing. Thank you guys so much for all of that, man. My goodness. This is our first episode of Season 2 of Am I the Asshole Podcast, and I'm so excited to get into it with you. Obviously, we ain't going to change nothing around here. We're still going to be going over A Court of Thorns and Roses and other spicy books at that. We are also going to be keeping, going on with you guys' scenarios and stuff like that. I'm going to start streaming to hang out with you guys, and we just casually play video games and hang out and whatever it is. And then, like I said, we won't have a Sunday episode this week, so look out for that. Definitely, it's going to be a thing where we're going to do every other Sunday, just so that way I can fit streaming into this schedule. And then it also gives me time to kind of relax as well, just so that way, because I still work a full-time job. So, it's one of those things where I want to, when I'm dealing with that and I'm just tired and exhausted, it's another day off that I can just take off from filming, and it's nice. So, without further ado, though, let's get into today's juicy thread that we have. If you remember on Tuesday's episode, we did what is something that men thinks that turns women on, but it doesn't. This one is what is something that men doesn't think turns women on, but it actually does. So we're going to flip that thread on its head and do a little bit of reverse and see what guys don't think turn women on, but they actually do. So let's get on in there. Let's learn something new, and let's get to it. All right. My wife tells me that she is turned on when I come out of the shower in a robe with messy hair and smelling nice. I mean, okay, I can see that. I mean, the whole messy hair thing, does she just own, I guess? I don't know. Because some girls, they seem to like dudes with messy hair, and then some girls are like, nah, I like a guy when he does his hair. I don't know. But I guess right out the shower, that makes sense. And the smelling good, I understand that because girls are weird with smell. They're just like, your scent. And I'm just like, girl, you crazy. But hey, girls go feral over the whole scent thing. That's what it is. Facts. Feel you on that one. I was told by a woman that a man is most attractive when working within his gift. So whatever that natural talent is that you have, the thing you do best, that's the easiest for you. When you are doing that, you're at your most attractive. That is true. And I think it's a thing where a lot of guys maybe don't know that. They don't know what it is that they do best. They don't know what it is their passion is. And I think that's why a lot of girls like dudes with hobbies, because they see them doing their hobby. They see them kind of chasing a passion and stuff like that. And I think that just kind of makes them like, ooh, I likes that. Like, yeah. So yeah, no, facts. I give that to you. Being able to fix things. Facts. Being able to fix things, man. Apparently having a new water filter for the fridge and installing it. Okay. My man must have changed out his water filter, and his lady just sucked him off right then and there. She was like, about time. He was like, oh, Jesus. Whoa, hold on. It was just, baby. It was just a water filter. Oh, my God. Like, goddamn. He was like, I haven't got to the washing machine yet. And then she probably gulped him even more. And he was like, oh, Jesus. I've seen enough women talk about it that I can say hands. I'm not sure what the specifics are, but women like hands. Yeah, Okay, all right, I could see that. I could see that. Maybe a guy who's got big hands, or maybe if he has like veiny hands. You know, I've heard that one a lot. They're like a guy who has got veiny hands. Okay, all right, okay. Hey, you know, it, you wouldn't think as a dude, you know, but to girls, I guess so. All right. Looking for me in a crowd and lighting up with a smile when he finds me. Really? Huh. That kind of seems like meet cute type shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, where it's like a TV show and it's just like they're just looking for each other, and then they see, and then he kind of gives like a smile, and then for her, I bet it's like slow motion. The song is playing in her head and stuff like that. It's just like meet cute type shit. You know? Hey. Let's see. I've been told by girlfriend that washing up is a turn on. Nigga, you that she probably told you that because you probably don't shower and wash your ass enough. Yeah, man. Being kind to animals and toddlers / babies as they can't do anything in return. Facts. Because there was a time where I was dating a girl, and she was like afraid of me meeting her dog because she was like, oh, he doesn't really like guys like that. You know, he only really lets, you know, girls pet him. And, you know, he's had a really tough time because in his previous home, you know, guys that lived in that house were very abusive to him. And that dog loved me. Like, he would let me pet him. He was licking on my face, and, you know, he was on his back. He was like, rub my tummy, all that stuff. She was dumbfounded. She was like, what? She was like, how did you get this dog to love you? And I'm like, because I'm lovable. That's just me. You know what I mean? I've always had a good record with animals. Babies is a toss up. You know, sometimes I'm great with babies, and then sometimes I'm really bad with babies. And those are a toss up. But animals, nah. Got you, my friend. Because a lot of people even look at me and they're like, dude, what the fuck? How are you petting my cat? Like, he doesn't let anybody touch him. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just got that gift with the animals. You know what I mean? But that is facts. Rambling about a strong interest or hobby of theirs. I don't think this one is universal, and it only works if I already like them. But nothing is hotter than someone talking passionately about what they love. Yeah, okay. I like that she put in there, I already have to like you first in order for your rambling about whatever it is to actually be a turn on. Because I'm like, hey, man, there's been times where I've talked to girls about things that I'm passionate. I'm passionate about a lot of shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I like to build computers. I like to work on my cars. I like to fidget with technology. I'm big into, like, you know, playing guitar and making music and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have a lot of passions and hobbies. But there are a lot of times when I talk to girls about it and they're just like, okay, yeah, that's cool, it's whatever. But then there are some girls that are just like, oh my god, like, you are so passionate, it's great, you know, they're all into it, and I'm just like, but see, sometimes you don't know if the girl just is like, I don't want to say being nice to you, you know what I mean? But you think like, oh my gosh, she's listening to me talk about my passion, she must like me. But then in reality, she's just like, no, I'm just being nice, and I'm just kind of listening to you talk about your passions. I'm glad that you're happy. You know, like, that's the fine line where it's like, I'd much rather you just kind of be like visually bored, so that way I can understand, like, all right, she ain't really into this. I don't know. Because I've run into that a lot of times too, where I'm thinking like, oh my god, this girl like loves when I talk about things I'm passionate in, and she tells me that, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm in there like swimwear, like, yo, we should do some, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't really see you that way, and you're like, oh wait, what? Can we back that up? You know, I'm just saying, it's like, it's tough out here for guys, all right, man, damn. My girlfriend apparently finds me irresistible when watching me work. I'm a software dev, and I'm not sure why. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the whole you doing something that you're good at. And especially if it's something that she doesn't know how to do and doesn't understand at all, and you do it effortlessly, oh, she probably looks at you like, yo, my man's the smartest dude in the world. She'd probably be telling all her friends like, yo, my man is smart as hell. He be on the computer doing something. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but he makes it look easy. And you know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think when you do something that girls can't even grasp on how to do it, they sit there and look at you like, yo, I like that right there. You know what I mean? Like, hey. And that's why I always tell all guys is like, hey, learn how to work on learn how to work on your car. I don't care if it's even just the most basic shit. Trust me. Change your girl's oil or you change your tire or something like that. Woo! She's going to give you the coochie, brother, because she's going to be like, oh my God, you know? Like, mind blown. Like, don't get me wrong. Nowadays, there's kind of a lot of girls that do that for themselves. But, I mean, that's why I say, like, really learn how to, you know, fuck with a car. And that way, you know, if she's ever got car problems or whatever like that, you know what I mean? You can jump in and she'll look at you like, yo, that's the guy right there. You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh, okay. NSFW, but she like the moaning. She like, I love when men be up in my ear talking about that. Oh, that coochie. It's amazing. To me, look, I always tell girls, I'm like, look, I get that you like dudes moaning. I get that 100%. But see, for guys, we have to be focused down here, but we got to be distracted up here. Because if we're not, girl, you about to get that 30-second special. You better stop playing with me. You know, like you gonna get that 30-second special, and you're gonna be laying there like mad because your boy got up in there, you two-pump chumped you, and that was that. I mean, did you like the moaning? Because I sure did give you that. Because if I give you that moaning, girl, I'm about to nut real quick. You know, especially if you out here kegeling on my penis and shit. And it's, whoo, girl, you better watch yourself. I'm telling you. I'm just saying. And then, all right, on to our next one. Okay. I'm a guy, but I'm also an old late 30s guy. So while I can't speak to what young people find attractive, I can give some perspective from a long, healthy marriage and what I've learned that didn't know when I was younger. Best advice for married men: anything that lowers stress. A lot of dead bedrooms really boil down to the wife is dealing with stress and not in the right headspace, proactively doing chores she normally does without asking about her day, listening and showing active interest. Give her a place to complain, even if you've heard it all before. Think of one thing per week you can do that she won't expect but will appreciate. Flowers, her favorite takeout. Plan a surprise with her best friend for her. Leave a heartfelt note for her. People say their wife has changed from when they were dating, but of course they have. Your lives have changed. Stress tends to only go up the older you get. You build a career, you have your first kid, you get your second kid, you have your first old person health issue like back that hurts for no reason or knees. Then you have teenagers to take care of. Then all of a sudden you guys are taking care of your aging parents. How can people not change during all of that? Finally, put your phone down and go to bed early together when you can. You know what? That one was super fucking wholesome, man. You know, I think that's there are a lot of little gems that people miss in the relationship, and they don't realize, like, instead of looking for a new spark, why don't you, spark up what you already got, you know what I mean? And spice it up a little bit and change it up and put a little effort into it. Because a lot of times, even if your relationship, like say in the beginning of your relationship, you used to buy your girl flowers all the time, and then you kind of stopped doing that for a while. You could easily just go back to buying her flowers again. And I mean, to her, that's going to just spice it up again. She's going to be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing this for? And it's like, babe, I used to do this in the beginning of the relationship and I stopped. And I felt so bad for stopping. And so, you know what? I'm going to start doing this again. Or if you're the type of dude, you're like, nah, don't worry about it, And I understand there are some, like, especially nowadays, I think, with the whole, like, red pill thing in the manosphere and stuff like that. I do understand, like, a lot of guys are like, oh, I want my girl to stay home and cook and clean and do all this other stuff. And if I'm being honest with you, like, that's great. But I do at the same time think every once in a while, you should cook with your girl or cook for your girl. Every once in a while, pick up some of the chores, clean up, do this and that. You know what I mean? To really take care of your girl, because a lot of times doing that just shows her you love her. It's not a thing of, masculine versus feminine. It's not a dominant versus a dominant thing. It's like you're just showing love at that point. You know what I mean? That's especially if your girl is a good one, man. You know, especially if you got you a good girl and you know that she shows out for you every day. She's doing all that kind of stuff. Every once in a while, taking that off of her shoulders, man, it's gonna be nice. That's why I'm the type of guy. I be rubbing my girl's feet all day. You know, I'm not a feet guy like that, but I'll rub my girl's feet. You know what I mean? Because it's even if she hadn't done shit all day, I'm still gonna do it. Why? Because for one, I know it feels good for her, and then two, it's just a big way to say I love you and I appreciate you being on these little patas of yours. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like his take on things, especially, you know, when life gets heavy on you. You have one kid and you have two kids and you get a house and then you're taking care of your parents and her parents, and you know, and you're dealing with so much. You got bills and work and all this stuff. Sometimes people forget to kind of stop and smell the roses every once in a while. Let's see. Kindness and gentleness towards children and animals. My boyfriend was sitting on the floor to not disturb the kitty in the chair. I wanted him to disturb my kitty because of how heartwarming that was. She was just like, you may not be disturbing that cat, but this kitty right here, ooh, oh my God. It needs a little attention, but man. Oh yeah, and I'm telling you, animals, man, get good with animals, and and that's why, you know, dudes buy dogs. I ain't gonna cap to you. That's why they buy dogs. Being nice, it attracts mentally healthy women and gives bitches the ick. Yeah, but it does backfire on you sometimes, you know, because there's the whole too nice kind of thing. You know, that's what sucks. Like a lot of women, they say that. They're like, oh, I want a nice guy. Oh, I want a nice guy. I want a nice guy. And then, you know, you be that nice guy, but then you're too nice. And it's like, and it sucks because you hear it all the time. You know what I mean? Because there's been countless times where I've met great women. And I'm you know, I'm just naturally a nice dude. My whole like love language is like acts of service. I like to do things for my girl. And, for me, I'm just that type of dude. When I really like a girl, I'm going to be that acts of service type of guy, man. I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to be like, oh, you need help with that? Oh, you do this. You know, she's like talking about something that, you know, she's liked or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Your birthday's coming up. You know what I mean? And I get that's more of gift giving, but to me, I look at it like it's kind of an act of service type thing because it's something that you've wanted or something that you need, and I'm able to give that to you. And you're like, holy shit, like, oh my God, you know? And I was like, yeah, you were talking about it one day, and, you know, I thought to myself, you know, why not? And yeah, that's kind of, but a lot of times I've gotten the whole, you're too nice. And I'm like, I did, man, that's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's never turned me into a point where I'm like, all right, fine, I'm going to be a fuck boy kind of thing. Nah, I've always just stuck to the, you know, fuck it, I'm just going to stay, you know, being who I am, being a nice dude. But it does suck, you know, it does suck. So it's a very fine line when it comes to being nice, you know. All right, a sense of security and safety. So many men think you have to keep them on their toes or else they'll get bored and stray, when really the hottest thing you can do is make a woman feel like she can trust you and relax completely around you. And hands and forearms. Yeah. Surprisingly, many women check out a guy's hands and forearms more than any other part of their body except face. Ask me how I know. It's fandom. Facts. If you guys go back into the Haunting Adeline episodes and you see how Adeline looks at Zayd, she talks about his hands being large and veiny and his forearms being very thick and vascular. She talks about it a lot. Go back in those episodes, man. If you guys, you know, are new around here and, you know, you're like, what? What's the Haunting Adeline? Go in the description. There should be a Spotify playlist of all the Haunting Adeline episodes. Check those out. You can skip through the thread if you want to just to get straight to the Haunting Adeline stuff. But I'm telling you, it is a true thing. It is. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Let's see. All right, sharing anything that is intimate and personal to you, letting me into your life, your history, anything that's made you who you are. Hands and forearms again, strong and muscular. Kindness, being handy and eager to jump in, attend to projects. Sexually touchy, flirtation, and unexpected times. Cooking together. Well-kept feet and toenails. Quick wit and fabulous sense of humor. Hey, man, there you go. The 8 steps to get a girlfriend, guys. You know what I mean? Like, shit, there it is, brother. There it is. It depends on a woman. I know women that are turned on by facial hair and other women that find it disgusting, and that it's just one example. And that sucks because you'll never know. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think she'll ever tell you. And it's like, girl, what you mean? Like, I could shave. You know what I mean? Like, I could shave. Like, what we talk about here? Like, you know, I could just, and I'm straight, right? You know, I don't know. Maybe it's not a thing. Maybe it's not like the only thing. Maybe it's just some other stuff. But I don't know. I always look at like when girls disqualify a guy for the clothes that they wear or the hairstyle that they have and stuff like that. Stuff that can just easily be changed. You know what I mean? Within the hour. It's like, girl, come on, man. What you doing? You know, like find something actually tangible to where it's like, okay, that makes sense why you wouldn't like me. Yeah, I don't know. That's just how I see that. Quoting my ex-girlfriend, knowing this is not universal, but as something that got stuck in my head. Don't tell me what to do, but I love when you tell me what to do. Yeah, okay. I think it's a thing where they don't want it to be like, hey, you can't do this, you can't talk to that. They want it to be more of like, be ready at this time, wear something like this, we're going out to this place, and you know what I mean, don't bring this and that, but bring this and that. You know, I think it's not more of like tell me what to do, but don't tell me what to do, but tell me what to do. I think it's more of plan things out and tell me the plan. You know, I think that's what women actually like. They want a plan and then tell me what the plan is. Because you can still make a date very surprising. You know, a lot of times when I go out on, like, especially first dates, I will give a time that I'm going to be there, whether it's at your house or at the place. I'll give an address if needed. I will tell you what type of shoes to wear, and I'll give you a vague idea of the type of clothes to wear, whether it's like, you know, oh, don't wear a dress or don't wear a skirt. Make sure to wear, you know, something comfortable, or, you know what I mean? Jeans are acceptable, this and that. And then a lot of times I will kind of hint of what we're doing, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what we're doing. And I think girls tend to like that because they're like, oh, shit, okay. You know, he's given me the entire itinerary. It's like, you know, he's going to be here at this time. I got to wear these kind of shoes. I can't wear this, and that, but to wear this, and that because of where we're going. So I can dress cute around that. And then, you know, he gave me a little teaser of what we're doing, but I still don't know what we're doing. So that way, by the time I come pick her up, she's just like, okay, I'm like, I'm ready. You know, like, what are we doing? You said, you know, that we were doing something like competitive. Like, what is that? And it's like, you'll see, you know what I mean? And then we show up and she's like, ooh, this looks like a lot of fun, blah, 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 blah. So I like to do stuff like that. And I think that's where that saying comes from. I don't think they want you to tell them what to do, just more of they want to plan and be part of the plan. You know what I mean? So, let's see. Based on what I've learned, you've got to wear a business suit with gray sweatpants. What? Huh?
Bruh.
That makes no sense. Okay. But roll up the sleeves of the shirt, then make unflinched eye contact while reversing your car into a clean garage and asking her about her day. And washing your ass. I mean, I don't know what the whole suit and sweatpants thing. Well, what? Why would that ever be a combination? And then apparently you have to be able to back in your car while making eye contact with her into a clean garage. What? Okay, all right, my man. Like, this guy seems very lost. I don't know why, but whenever a guy moans, it always gets to me. Yeah, you get them 30-second specials, girl. Like, girl, what you talking about? A soft heart and no shame about it. So weird as it sounds, I love watching my man play all the Fallout games because he has this ridiculous habit of collecting all the teddy bears that he finds and putting them all on a bed in his house. It's utterly adorable. Excited. Yeah, adorable. He's excited. Wait, I don't know. What is she trying to say here? It's utterly adorable. Excited he gets how. She put hope and meant how. Okay, that's what's throwing me off. It's utterly adorable how excited he gets when he finds another teddy bear and how annoyed he gets when the NPCs push the bears off the bed so they can sleep in it. It makes my heart want to burst. You know, and stuff like this is great, but she's got to like you first in order for this to be attractive. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just be like a, you can't, I don't think you could do this right off the bat and then she would just be like, oh my God, I love you. I think it's more of a thing where it's like, she's got to have the feelings for you first and then she can find these kind of things about your personality cute. I could be wrong though. Ladies, let me know in the comments though. Get in there, get involved with this thread because this is you guys' thread. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Apparently thighs. If you got thick thighs, girls are all about it. Okay. I mean, hey, thick thighs save lives. And that's not just a man quote. That is for both men and women, man. That is a unisex saying right there. Thick thighs will save them lives, man. God damn. Let's see. Voice tone plays a huge part in attraction. Really? Huh. I mean, I know back in the day when you used to talk to a girl on the phone, you'd be like, hey, girl, what's up? How's it going? You know what I mean? Like, you would act a little tired, but not too tired. You'd act interested, but like as if you I don't really care to be on this phone call, but I'm on this phone call anyway. You kind of got to give that, like, I don't give a fuck, but I'm sleepy kind of tone, because for some reason girls like that. That was spitting game back in the day, back in my day, you know what I mean, as old as I am. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's how you talk to a girl. You be like, hey girl, what's up? Oh yeah, for real? That's cool, man. And it's crazy because a lot of kids don't even do this no more. And for all the audio listeners, when you're making the telephone sign, and you got your pinky and your thumb out and you pretend like you're on the phone, kids don't do that no more. They kind of make like a C shape with their hand because like phones, aren't like that no more. Like all my older people out there, man, you remember the flip phone era. You know what I mean? The Razor, the Motorola Razor time, when we flipped and T9'd everybody. Like, damn, son. Woo! Showing my age out there. But hey, I guarantee you there's some people that listen to this right now and they're like, facts. Or if you're a sidekick kid or something like that, you were the cool kid out there. God damn. But I'm just saying, it's like, it's craziness. But yeah, I didn't know that voice tone played a huge part, man. I didn't know that at all. That's learning something new out here. Apparently being passionate about shit. I didn't realize I was into someone until I talked to them and they went off about something they were into. Hooked on them. Really? Homeboy was just passionate. She was like, you know what? I might blow this guy. Hey, man, you never know. Just being passionate about shit might get you a girlfriend and shit. She said, I'm hooked on this man. Like, yo, all right. Okay, I'm going to do two more. So much apparently turns this woman on. All right. Cleaning with me when I'm wanting to chill and he starts cleaning, it makes me angry because then I feel like a lazy bum. But if I'm picking up and he joins in, I get really turned on. When the kids were younger, he'd get on the floor every night after a long day of work and play with them. It not only gave me a break, but it was also really sexy. Now, if he helps them with adult things, oil changes, moving, or homework for the ones in school. Also, when he gets upset when he has to miss an appointment or school event, game due to work or other commitment. Along with that, the way he loves his family and mine. Cooking, he doesn't do it often because of his schedule, but when he does, it's super hot. He gets really into it and is super proud of the final product. I'm like that. I love cooking for people, especially like girls that I like. I love cooking. I will go look up recipes of just like hard to make shit, and I will go out and I will just learn it and I'll be making it and I'll be like, here you go, bon appetit. And when they eat it and they think it's delicious, I'm like, girls, stop. It's not that delicious. And they're like, no, it's so good. I'm like, oh, I love you. Let's get married. I'm just saying, man. I love that shit. Bringing me home a candy bar or some other treat, food or non-food, just because. Painting my nails, rubbing my feet at night, bringing me clothes or anything else to pamper me. facts. That's why I like rubbing them little patas. It just shows her you love her, man. You know what I mean? Body hair, when he has a little bit of chest hair poking out of the top of his shirt, or when his beard gets fluffy. I don't get why girls like that, bro. For me, like when my beard gets a little too long, that shit gets itchy, and I gotta shave that shit, But I know an ex of mine, she hated that. She was like, no, keep it. And I'm like, girl, it's itchy. Stop. It's been 25 years, but I still find all these little things so sexy. And that's what they say when they say it's the little things, man. And we don't even realize these little things are making that coochie moist. Goddamn. All right, it's going to be our last one. All right, a big turn on to me is being a devout listener, listening to me speak, looking in my eyes when you talk to me, and you. Simple things like that are a huge turn on. Having my back, another, excluding not only kindness but warmth as a person, being someone strong that can take charge when something distressing happens. Yeah, she wants a guy that, like, he gonna jump into action when shit's going on. He's like, don't worry about it. I got it. I know the solution. But yeah, man, facts. That's going to go ahead and be the end of that thread, though. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Ladies, get down in the comments and, let us know what turns you on, man. The guys just don't think that actually turns you on. You're sitting there and you're just like, yo, he changes that light bulb just right for your girl, just saying. So get in there, get in those comments, let us know. You know what I mean? We'd love to hear your opinion. Obviously, there are a few things that I catch on, to little things that I do that girls like. And, but there's many that us guys just miss. You could be a guy that's really good with women, but at the same time, you still miss those little signals and you're just like, shit, you know what I mean? So yeah, get in those comments, let us know. We'd love to hear your opinions. Let's hop into announcements super quick. Then we'll get into chapters 21 and 22 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. The book is getting a little good. I'm enjoying it right now. I think she's kind of coming around to our boy, Oh man, our boy Tamlin is giving Feyre a little bit of run for her money. She's like, this man is goddamn, son. He out here taking care of her, looking strong in front of her and shit. He's looking all warrior-esque and stuff, she out here loving she getting distracted watching this man fight and everything. She's like, Jesus Christ, this man, like, oh, Isaac back home, that boy could never. That was a boy. This a man. And then Lucian over here pouting and, whining and crying a little bit. He trying, but he's trying to go with the broody angle. And it intrigues her a little bit, but I think she she brushes that shit off. She's like, look, bro, this whole broody thing you got going on, I ain't about it. You know what I mean? Either be direct or get the fuck out of my face. You know what I mean? But he tries. He tries. And you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. He's trying. We'll see, though. We'll see. But again, patreon.com/MyAssHole Podcast. Get the exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenarios to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday shows. All right? Get up in there. Even though we're going to be doing Sunday shows every other Sunday, don't worry. I will still be doing that. Sunday episodes, what I might do is not do a thread on Sunday episodes and just do nothing but scenarios, just so that way all of you guys' scenarios do get in there and you guys get featured on the show. I know some of you guys do get upset when I don't feature your scenario on the show, and I'm like, I know, I do apologize. I try to get to them all as quickly as I can, and I only shoot for 50 to an hour long, so there's only so much I can mash into the show. Okay, do apologize if I haven't gotten to your scenario. I will get to it, don't worry. But if you want to follow us or support us on the free 99 side of things, absolutely for free, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, as well as subscribing on YouTube. Man, that helps out so much. It really, really does. If you're an audio listener, downloading and rating the podcast, if you haven't already, really helps out a lot, man. The more you guys rate, the better the show looks, and I appreciate that. If you guys are really loving what we're doing over here and you want to share it with friends and other people, man, definitely do that. Definitely get them in on this, man, because we be having some juicy shit happen in this show sometimes. So get your friends involved, get your mom, your dad, your dog, and let's get to it. All right. Without further ado, though, let's get into chapter 21 and 22 of A Court of Thorns and Roses, the main event you guys have all been waiting for. All right. So let's get on into it, and I will pop you guys over.
Chapter 21. Everything about the stranger radiated sensual grace and ease. High fae, no doubt. His short black hair gleamed like a raven's feathers, offsetting his pale skin and blue eyes so deep they were violet, even in the firelight. They twinkled with amusement as he beheld me. For a moment, we said nothing. Thank you didn't seem to cover what he'd done for me, but something about the way he stood with absolute stillness, the night seeming to press in closer around him, made me hesitant to speak. Made me want to run in the other direction. He too wasn't wearing a mask. From another court, then. A half-smile played on his lips.
"What's a mortal woman doing here on fire night?"
His voice was a lover's purr that sent shivers through me, caressing every muscle and bone and nerve. I took a step back. My friends brought me. The drumming was increasing in tempo, building to a climax I didn't understand. It had been so long since I'd seen a bare face that looked even vaguely human. His clothes, all black, all finely made, were cut close enough to his body that I could see how magnificent he was, as if he'd been molded from the night itself.
"And who are your friends?"
He was still smiling at me, a predator sizing up prey. "Two ladies?" I lied again.
"Their names?"
He prowled closer, slipping his hands into his pockets. I retreated a little more and kept my mouth shut. Had I just traded 3 monsters for something far worse? When it became apparent I wouldn't answer, he chuckled.
"You're welcome," he said, "for saving you."
I bristled at his arrogance, but retreated another step. I was close enough to the bonfire, to that little hollow where the fairies were all gathering, that I could make it if I sprinted. Maybe someone would take pity on me. Maybe Lucian or Alice were there.
"Strange for a mortal to be friends with 2 fairies,"
he mused, and began circling me. I could have sworn tendrils of star-kissed night trailed in his wake.
"Aren't humans usually terrified of us? And aren't you, for that matter, supposed to keep to your side of the wall?"
I was terrified of him, but I wasn't about to let him know. "I've known them my whole life. I've never had anything to fear from them." He paused his circling. He now stood between me and the bonfire, and my escape route.
"And yet they brought you to the Great Rite and abandoned you."
"They went to get refreshments," I said, and his smile grew. Whatever I'd just said had given me away. I'd spotted the servants hauling off the food, but maybe it wasn't here. He smiled for a heartbeat longer. I had never seen anyone so handsome, and never had so many warning bells pealed in my head because of it.
"I'm afraid the refreshments are a long way off," he said, coming closer now. "It might be a while before they return. May I escort you somewhere in the meantime?"
He removed a hand from his pocket to offer his arm. He'd been able to scare off those fairies without lifting a finger. "No," I said, my tongue thick and heavy. He waved his hand toward the hollow, toward the drums.
"Enjoy the rite, then. Try to stay out of trouble."
His eyes gleamed in a way that suggested staying out of trouble meant staying far, far away from him. Though it might have been the biggest risk I'd ever taken, I blurted, "So you're not a part of the spring court?" He returned to me, every movement exquisite and laced with lethal power, but I held my ground as he gave me a lazy smile.
"Do I look like I'm a part of the spring court?"
The words were tinged with an arrogance that only an immortal could achieve. He laughed under his breath. "No, I'm not a part of the noble spring court, and glad of it." He gestured to his face where a mask might go. I should have walked away, should have shut my mouth. "Why are you here, then?" The man's remarkable eyes seemed to glow, with enough of a deadly edge that I backed up a step. "Because all the monsters have been let out of their cages tonight, no matter what court they belong to, so I may roam wherever I wish until the dawn." More riddles and questions to be answered. But I'd had enough, especially as his smile turned cold and cruel. "Enjoy the rite," I repeated as blandly as I could. I hurried back to the hollow, too aware of the fact that I was putting my back to him. I was grateful to lose myself in the crowd milling along the path to the cave, still waiting for some moment to occur. When I stopped shaking, I looked around at the gathered fairies. Most of them still wore masks, but there were some, like that lethal stranger and those 3 horrible fairies, who wore no masks at all, either fairies with no allegiance or members of other courts. I couldn't tell them apart. As I scanned the crowd, my eyes met with those of a masked fairy across the path. One was russet and shone as brightly as his red hair. The other was metal. I blinked at the same moment he did, and then his eyes went wide. He vanished into nothing, and a second later, someone grabbed my elbow and yanked me out of the crowd. "Have you lost your senses?" Lucian shouted above the drums. His face was ghostly pale. "What are you doing here?" None of the fairies noticed us. They were all staring intensely down the path, away from the cave. "I wanted to," I started, but Lucian cursed violently. "Idiot!" he yelled at me, then glanced behind him toward where the other fairies stared. "Useless human fool!" Without a further word, he slung me over his shoulder as if I were a sack of potatoes. Despite my wriggling and shouts of protest, despite my demands that he get my horse, he held firm, and when I looked up, I found that he was running. Fast. Faster than anything should be able to move. It made me so nauseated that I shut my eyes. He didn't stop until the air was cooler and calmer, and the drumming was distant. Lucian dropped me on the floor of the manor hallway, and when I steadied myself, I found his face just as pale as before. "You stupid mortal!" he snapped. "Didn't he tell you to stay in your room?" Lucian looked over his shoulder toward the hills, where the drumming became so loud and fast that it was like a rainstorm. "That was hardly anything. That wasn't even the ceremony." It was only then that I saw the sweat on his face and the panicked gleam in his eyes. "By the cauldron, if Tam found you there." "So what?" I said, shouting as well. I hated feeling like a disobedient child. "It's the great rite. Cauldron boil me. Didn't anyone tell you what it is?" My silence was answer enough. I could almost see the drum beats pulsing against his skin, beckoning him to rejoin the crowd. "Fire Night signals the official start of spring, in Prithian as well as in the mortal world," Lucian said. While his words were calm, they trembled slightly. I leaned against the wall of the hallway, forcing myself into a casualness I didn't feel. "Here, our crops depend on the magic we regenerate on Kalanmai, tonight." I stuffed my hands into the pockets of my pants. Tamlin had said something similar 2 days ago. Lucian shuddered, as if shaking off an invisible touch. "We do this by conducting the Great Rite. Each of the 7 High Lords of Prithian performs this every year, since their magic comes from the earth and returns to it at the end.
It's a give and take.
But what is it? I asked, and he clicked his tongue.
Tonight, Tam will allow great and terrible magic to enter his body,
Lucian said, staring at the distant fires.
The magic will seize control of his mind, his body, his soul, and turn him into the hunter. It will fill him with his sole purpose, to find the maiden. From their coupling, magic will be released and spread to the earth, where it will regenerate life for the year to come.
My face became hot, and I fought the urge to fidget.
Tonight, Tam won't be the fairy you know, Lucian said. He won't even know his name. The magic will consume everything in him but that one basic command and need.
Who's the maiden? I got out.
Lucian snorted. No one knows until it's time. After Tam hunts down the white stag and kills it for the sacrificial offering, he'll make his way to that sacred cave, where he'll find the path lined with fairy females waiting to be chosen as his mate for tonight.
What?
Lucian laughed. Yes, all those female fairies around you were females for Tamlin to pick. It's an honor to be chosen, but it's his instincts that select her.
But you were there? And other male fairies? My face burned so hot that I began sweating. That was why those 3 horrible fairies had been there, and they'd thought that just by my presence I was happy to comply with their plans.
Ah, Lucian chuckled. Well, Tam's not the only one who gets to perform the rite tonight. Once he makes his choice, we're free to mingle. Though it's not the great rite, our own dalliances tonight will help the land too.
He shrugged off that invisible hand a second time, and his eyes fell upon the hills.
You're lucky I found you when I did, though, he said, because he would have smelled you and claimed you, but it wouldn't have been Tamlin who brought you into that cave.
His eyes met mine, and a chill went over me.
And I don't think you would have liked it. Tonight is not for love-making.
I swallowed my nausea.
I should go,
Lucian said, gazing at the hills.
I need to return before he arrives at the cave. At least try to control him when he smells you and can't find you in the crowd.
It made me sick. The thought of Tamlin forcing me, that magic could strip away any sense of self, of right or wrong. But hearing that some feral part of him wanted me, my breath was painful.
Stay in your room tonight, Farah, Lucian said, walking to the garden doors. No matter who comes knocking, keep the door locked. Don't come out until morning.
At some point, I dozed off while sitting at my vanity. I awoke the moment the drums stopped. A shuddering silence went through the house, and the hair on my arms arose as magic swept past me, rippling outward. Though I tried not to, I thought about the probable source and blushed, even as my chest tightened. I glanced at the clock. It was past 2 a.m. Well, he'd certainly taken his time with the ritual, which meant the girl was probably beautiful and charming and appealed to his instincts. I wondered whether she was glad to be chosen. Probably. She'd come to the hill of her own free will, and after all, Tamlin was a high lord, and it was a great honor. And I supposed Tamlin was handsome, terribly handsome. Even though I couldn't see the upper part of his face, his eyes were fine, and his mouth beautifully curved and full. And then there was his body, which was... I hissed and stood. I stared at my door, at the snare I'd rigged. How utterly absurd, as if bits of rope and wood could protect me from the demons in this land. Needing to do something with my hands, I carefully disassembled the snare. Then I unlocked the door and strode into the hallway. What a ridiculous holiday. Absurd. It was good that humans had cast them aside. I made it to the empty kitchen, gobbled down half a loaf of bread, an apple, and a lemon tart. I nibbled on a chocolate cookie as I walked to my little painting room. I needed to get some of the furious images out of my mind, even if I had to paint by candlelight. I was about to turn down the hallway when a tall male figure appeared before me. The moonlight from the open window turned his mask silver, and his golden hair, unbound and crowned with laurel leaves, gleamed.
"Going somewhere?"
Tamlin asked. His voice was not entirely of this world. I suppressed a shudder. "Midnight snack," I said, and I was keenly aware of every movement, every breath I took as I neared him. His bare chest was painted with whorls of dark blue woad, and from the smudges in the paint, I knew exactly where he'd been touched. I tried not to notice that they descended past his muscled midriff. I was about to pass him when he grabbed me, so fast that I didn't see anything until he had me pinned against the wall. The cookie dropped from my hand as he grasped my wrists.
"I smelled you,"
he breathed, his painted chest rising and falling so close to mine.
"I searched for you, and you weren't there."
He reeked of magic. When I looked into his eyes, remnants of power flickered there. No kindness, none of the wry humor and gentle reprimands. The Tamlin I knew was gone. "Let go," I said as evenly as I could, but his claws punched out, embedding in the wood above my hands. Still riding the magic, he was half wild.
"You drove me mad,"
he growled, and the sound trembled down my neck, along my breasts until they ached.
"I searched for you when you weren't there. When I didn't find you,"
he said, bringing his face closer to mine until we shared breath.
"It made me pick another."
I couldn't escape. I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to.
"She asked me not to be gentle with her either,"
he snarled, his teeth bright in the moonlight. He brought his lips to my ear.
"I would have been gentle with you, though."
I shuddered as I closed my eyes. Every inch of my body went taut as his words echoed through me.
"I would have had you moaning my name throughout it all, and I would have taken a very, very long time, Farah."
He said my name like a caress, and his hot breath tickled my ear. My back arched slightly. He ripped his claws free from the wall, and my knees buckled as he let go. I grasped the wall to keep from sinking to the floor, to keep from grabbing him, to strike or caress, I didn't know. I opened my eyes. He still smiled like an animal. "Why should I want someone's leftovers?" I said, making to push him away. He grabbed my hands again and bit my neck. I cried out as his teeth clamped over the tender spot where my neck met my shoulder. I couldn't move, couldn't think, and my world narrowed to the feeling of his lips and teeth against my skin. He didn't pierce my flesh, but rather bit to keep me pinned. The push of his body against mine, the hard and the soft, made me see red. See lightning, made me grind my hips against his. I should hate him for his stupid ritual, for the female he'd been with tonight. His bite lightened, and his tongue caressed the places his teeth had been. He didn't move, he just remained in that spot, kissing my neck. Intently, territorially, lazily. Heat pounded between my legs, and as he ground his body against me, against every aching spot, a moan slipped past my lips. He jerked away. The air was bitingly cold against my freed skin, and I panted as he stared at me.
"Don't ever disobey me again," he said,
his voice a deep purr that ricocheted through me, awakening everything and lulling it into complicity. Then I reconsidered his words and straightened. He grinned at me in that wild way, and my hand connected with his face. "Don't tell me what to do," I breathed, my palm stinging. "And don't bite me like some enraged beast." He chuckled bitterly. The moonlight turned his eyes to the color of leaves in shadow. More. I wanted the hardness of his body crushing against mine. I wanted his mouth and teeth and tongue on my bare skin, on my breasts, between my legs. Everywhere. I wanted him everywhere. I was drowning in that need. His nostrils flared as he scented me, scented every burning, raging thought that was pounding through my body, my senses. The breath rushed from him in a mighty whoosh. He growled once, low and frustrated and vicious, before prowling away. Chapter 22. I awoke when the sun was high, after tossing and turning all night, empty and aching. The servants were sleeping in after their night of celebrating, so I made myself a bath and took a good long soak. Try as I might to forget the feel of Tamlin's lips on my neck, I had an enormous bruise where he'd bitten me. After bathing, I dressed and sat at the vanity to braid my hair. I opened the drawers of the vanity, searching for a scarf or something to cover the bruise peeking over the collar of my blue tunic, but then paused and glared at myself in the mirror. He'd acted like a brute and a savage, and if he'd come to his senses by this morning, then seeing what he'd done would be minimal punishment. Sniffing, I opened the collar of my tunic farther and tucked stray strands of my golden brown hair behind my ears so there would be no concealing it. I was beyond cowering. Humming to myself and swinging my hands, I strode downstairs and followed my nose to the dining room, where I knew lunch was usually served for Tamlin and Lucian. When I flung open the doors, I found them both sprawled in their chairs. I could have sworn that Lucian was sleeping upright, fork in hand. "Good afternoon," I said cheerfully, with an especially saccharine smile for the High Lord. He blinked at me, and both of the ferrymen murmured their greetings as I took a seat across from Lucian, not my usual place facing Tamlin. I drank deeply from my goblet of water before piling food on my plate. I savored the tense silence as I consumed the meal before me. "You look refreshed," Lucian observed with a glance at Tamlin. I shrugged. "Sleep well?" "Like a babe." I smiled at him and took another bite of food and felt Lucian's eyes travel inexorably to my neck. "What is that bruise?" Lucian demanded. I pointed with my fork to Tamlin. "Ask him. He did it." Lucian looked from Tamlin to me and then back again. "Why does Feyre have a bruise on her neck from you?" he asked with no small amount of amusement. "I bit her," Tamlin said, not pausing as he cut his steak. "We ran into each other in the hall after the rite." I straightened in my chair. "She seems to have a death wish," he went on, cutting his meat. The claws stayed retracted, but pushed against the skin above his knuckles. My throat closed up. Oh, he was mad, furious at my foolishness for leaving my room, but somehow managed to keep his anger on a tight, tight leash.
So, if Feyre can't be bothered to listen to orders, then I can't be held accountable for the consequences.
Accountable? I sputtered, placing my hands flat on the table. You cornered me in the hall like a wolf with a rabbit. Lucian propped an arm on the table and covered his mouth with his hand, his russet eye bright.
While I might not have been myself, Lucian and I both told you to stay in your room, Tamlin said, so calmly that I wanted to rip out my hair.
I couldn't help it. Didn't even try to fight the red-hot temper that raised my senses. "Fairy pig!" I yelled, and Lucian howled, almost tipping back in his chair. At the sight of Tamlin's growing smile, I left. It took me a couple of hours to stop painting little portraits of Tamlin and Lucian with pig's features, but as I finished the last one, two fairy pigs wallowing in their own filth, I would call it, I smiled into the clear, bright light of my private painting room. The Tamlin I knew had returned, and it made me happy. We apologized at dinner. He even brought me a bouquet of white roses from his parents' garden, and while I dismissed them as nothing, I made certain that Alice took good care of them when I returned to my room. She gave me only a wry nod before promising to set them in my painting room. I fell asleep with a smile still on my lips. For the first time in a long, long while, I slept peacefully. "Don't know if I should be pleased or worried," Alice said the next night, as she slid the golden underdress over my upraised arms, then tugged it down. I smiled a bit, marveling at the intricate metallic lace that clung to my arms and torso like a second skin before falling loosely to the rug. "It's just a dress," I said, lifting my arms again as she brought over the gossamer turquoise overgown. It was sheer enough to see the gleaming gold mesh beneath, and light and airy and full of movement, as if it flowed on an invisible current. Alice just chuckled to herself and guided me over to the vanity to work on my hair. I didn't have the courage to look at the mirror as she fussed over me. "Does this mean you'll be wearing gowns from now on?" she asked, separating sections of my hair for whatever wonders she was doing to it. "No," I said quickly. "I mean, I'll be wearing my usual clothes during the day, but I thought it might be nice to try it out, at least for tonight." "I see. Good that you aren't losing your common sense entirely, then." I twisted my mouth to the side. "Who taught you to do hair like this?" Her fingers stilled, then continued their work. "My mother taught me and my sister, and her mother taught her before that." "Have you always been at the spring court?" "No," she said, pinning my hair in various subtle places. "No, we were originally from the summer court. That's where my kin still dwells." "How'd you wind up here?" Alice met my eyes in the mirror, her lips a tight line. "I made a choice to come here, and my kin thought me mad. But my sister and her mate had been killed, and for her boys." She coughed, as if choking on the words. "I came here to do what I could." She patted my shoulder. "Have a look." I dared a glimpse at my reflection. I hurried from the room before I could lose my nerve. I had to keep my hands clenched at my sides to avoid wiping my sweaty palms on the skirts of my gown as I reached the dining room, and immediately contemplated bolting upstairs and changing into a tunic and pants. But I knew they'd already heard me, or smelled me, or used whatever heightened senses they had to detect my presence, and since fleeing would only make it worse, I found it in myself to push open the double doors. Whatever discussion Tamlin and Lucian had been having stopped, and I tried not to look at their wide eyes as I strode to my usual place at the end of the table.
"Well, I'm late for something incredibly important," Lucian said, and before I could call him on his outright lie or beg him to stay, the fox-masked fairy vanished. I could feel the full weight of Tamlin's undivided attention on me, on every breath and movement I took. I studied the candelabras atop the mantel beside the table. I had nothing to say that didn't sound absurd, yet for some reason, my mouth decided to start moving.
"You're so far away." I gestured to the expanse of table between us. "It's like you're in another room." The quarters of the table vanished, leaving Tamlin not 2 feet away, sitting at an infinitely more intimate table. I yelped and almost tipped over in my chair. He laughed as I gaped at the small table that now stood between us.
"Better?"
he asked. I ignored the metallic tang of magic as I said, How did you do that? Where did it go?" He cocked his head.
"Between. Think of it as a broom closet tucked between pockets of the world."
He flexed his hands and rolled his neck, as if shaking off some pain. "Does it tax you?" Sweat seemed to gleam on the strong column of his neck. He stopped flexing his hands and set them flat on the table.
"Once it was as easy as breathing, but now it requires concentration."
Because of the blight on Prithian and the toll it had taken on him. "You could have just taken a closer seat," I said. Tamlin gave me a lazy grin.
"And miss a chance to show off to a beautiful woman? Never."
I smiled down at my plate.
"You do look beautiful," he said quietly. "I mean it," he added when my mouth twisted to the side. "Didn't you look in the mirror?"
Though his bruise still marred my neck, I had looked pretty. Feminine. I wouldn't go so far as to call myself a beauty, but I hadn't cringed. A few months here had done wonders for the awkward sharpness and angles of my face, and I dared say that some kind of light had crept into my eyes. My eyes, not my mother's eyes or Nesta's eyes. Mine. "Thank you," I said, and I was grateful to avoid saying anything else as he served me and then himself. When my stomach was full to bursting, I dared to look at him, really look at him again. Tamlin leaned back in his chair, yet his shoulders were tight, his mouth a thin line. He hadn't been called to the border in a few days, hadn't come back weary and covered in blood since before fire night, and yet he'd grieved for that nameless summer court fairy with the hacked-off wings. What grief and burdens did he bear for whoever else had been lost in this conflict? Lost to the blight or to the attacks on the borders? High Lord, a position he hadn't wanted or expected, yet he'd been forced to bear its weight as best he could. "Come," I said, rising from my chair and tugging on his hand. The calluses scraped against mine, but his fingers tightened as he looked up at me. "I have something for you."
"For me,"
he repeated carefully, but rose. I led him out of the dining room. When I went to drop his hand, he didn't let go. It was enough to keep me walking quickly, as if I could outrun my thundering heart or the sheer immortal presence of him at my side. I brought him down hall after hall until we got to my little painting room, and he finally released my hand as I reached for the key. Cold air bit into my skin without the warmth of his hand around mine.
"I knew you'd asked Alice for a key, but I didn't think you actually locked the room," he said behind me.
I gave him a narrowed glance over my shoulder as I pushed open the door. Everyone snoops in this house. I didn't want you or Lucian coming in here until I was ready. I stepped into the darkened room and cleared my throat, a silent request for him to light the candles. It took him longer than I'd seen him need before, and I wondered if shortening the table had somehow drained him more than he'd let on. The Suriel had said the High Lords were power, and yet something had to be truly, thoroughly wrong if this was all he could manage. The room gradually flared with light, and I pushed my worry aside as I stepped farther into the room. I took a deep breath and gestured to the easel and the painting I'd put there. I hoped he wouldn't notice the paintings I'd leaned against the walls. He turned in place, staring around him at the room. "I know they're strange," I said, my hands sweating again. I tucked them behind my back. "And I know they're not as good as the ones you have here, but..." I walked to the painting on the easel. It was an impression, not a lifelike rendering. "I wanted you to see this one," I said, pointing to the smear of green and gold and silver and blue. "It's for you. A gift. For everything you've done." Heat flared in my cheeks, my neck, my ears as he silently approached the painting. "It's the glen with the pool of starlight," I said quickly.
"I know what it is,"
he murmured, studying the painting. I backed away a step, unable to bear watching him look at it, wishing I hadn't brought him in here, blaming it on the wine I'd had at dinner, on the stupid dress. He examined the painting for a miserable eternity, then looked away, to the nearest painting leaning against the wall. My gut tightened. A hazy landscape of snow and skeletal trees and nothing else. It looked like nothing, I supposed, to anyone but me. I opened my mouth to explain, wishing I'd turned the others away from view, but he spoke.
"That was your forest, where you hunted."
He came closer to the painting, gazing at the bleak, empty cold, the white and gray and brown and black.
"This was your life,"
he clarified. I was too mortified, too stunned to reply. He walked to the next painting I'd left against the wall. Darkness and dense brown, flickers of ruby red and orange squeezing out between them.
"Your cottage at night."
I tried to move, to tell him to stop looking at those ones and look at the others I'd laid out, but I couldn't. Couldn't even breathe properly as he moved to the next painting. A tanned, sturdy male hand fisted in the hay, the pale pieces of it entwined among strands of brown coated with gold. My hair. My gut twisted.
"The man you used to see, in your village."
He cocked his head again as he studied the picture, and a low growl slipped out.
"While you made love."
He stepped back, looking at the row of pictures.
"This is the only one with any brightness."
Was that jealousy? It was the only escape I had. Truth. I wouldn't apologize for Isaac. Not when Tamlin had just been in the great right. I didn't hold that against him, but if he was going to be jealous of Isaac... Tamlin must have realized it too, for he loosed a long, controlled breath before moving to the next painting. Tall shadows of men, bright red dripping off their fists, off their wooden clubs, hovering and filling the edges of the painting as they towered over the curled figure on the floor, the blood leaking from him, the leg at a wrong angle. Tamlin swore.
"You were there when they wrecked your father's leg."
Someone had to beg them to stop. Tamlin threw a too knowing glance in my direction and turned to look at the rest of the paintings. There they were, All the wounds I'd slowly been leeching these few months. I blinked. A few months. Did my family believe that I would be forever away with this so-called dying aunt? At last, Tamlin looked at the painting of the glen in the starlight. He nodded in appreciation, but he pointed to the painting of the snow-veiled woods.
That one. I want that one.
It's cold and melancholy, I said, hiding my wince. It doesn't suit this place at all. He went up to it, and the smile he gave me was more beautiful than any enchanted meadow or pool of stars.
I want it nonetheless, he said softly.
I'd never yearned for anything more than to remove his mask and see the face beneath, to find out whether it matched how I'd dreamed he looked. Tell me there's some way to help you, I breathed. With the masks, with whatever threat has taken so much of your power, tell me. Just tell me what I can do to help you.
A human wishes to help a fairy?
Don't tease me, I said. Please, just tell me.
There's nothing I want you to do, nothing you can do, or anyone. It's my burden to bear.
You don't have to.
I do. What I have to face, what I endure, Feyre, you would not survive.
So I'm to live here forever, in ignorance of the true scope of what's happening? If you don't want me to understand what's going on, would you rather... I swallowed hard. Rather I found someplace else to live, where I'm not a distraction?
Didn't Cullen Mai teach you anything?
Only that magic makes you into a brute. He laughed, though not entirely with amusement. When I remained silent, he sighed.
No, I don't want you to live somewhere else. I want you here where I can look after you, where I can come home and know you're here, painting and safe.
I couldn't look away from him.
I thought about sending you away at first, he murmured. Part of me still thinks I should have found somewhere else for you to live. But maybe I was selfish. Even when you made it so clear that you were more interested in ignoring the treaty or finding a way out of it, I couldn't bring myself to let you go. To find someplace in Prithian where you'd be comfortable enough to not attempt to flee.
Why? He picked up the small painting of the frozen forest and examined it again.
I've had many lovers, he admitted. Females of noble birth, warriors, princesses.
Rage hit me, low and deep in the gut at the thought of them. Rage at their titles, their undoubtedly good looks, at their closeness to him.
But they never understood what it was like, what it is like for me to care for my people, my lands, what scars are still there, what the bad days feel like.
That wrathful jealousy faded away like morning dew as he smiled at my painting.
This reminds me of it.
Of what? I breathed. He lowered the painting, looking right at me, right into me.
That I'm not alone.
I didn't lock my bedroom door that night. Chapter 12.
Ooh! Goddamn. She said, I unlock my door, hoping he comes in at the night. Gives me a little bit of that painish. My goodness. Okay. Finally, the book is getting juicy. Oh, juice is dripping down the chin. It's getting good, brother. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the thread as well as the chapters 21 and 22. Boy, were those some spicy chapters. Ooh-wee. Woo! He was like, you damn right, I've bit on her neck. The fuck we talking about? She was just like, I want his mouth everywhere. everywhere. I want it on my titties and my coochie everywhere. And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Book is getting good. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Love you all. Thank you for all the support. And I will see you on Tuesday. Peace.